You walk into an interview and they ask you, what's your approach to medallion architecture? Tell me what your impression is. And you have to come up with something on the fly. This discussion that I had with Shane Gibson and Ramona, you're going to be able to walk away from this with a couple of different patterns that you could use in your next interview.
Chris, do you want to do yours? And then we'll jump to Ramona and she can ask us the good questions.
Absolutely. So for me, I do follow a little bit closer to a traditional medallion layer type architecture when I come into a business. So I do generally look at bronze, right, as your raw layer, right? Just everything that's coming in as is, you're dumping into bronze. Our silver, right, which is our, if I could spell and type, our silver, which is our kind of our cleaned, transformed a little bit. We'll go through some of that other stuff here in a little bit, but basically just the way that you've seen silver before, standardized and cleansed data sets. We're applying some business rules, some naming standards, data type enforcement, maybe some masking for PII fields. Then we have, this one might be new for some of you, a copper layer here. And copper for me is this is the layer for all of our data that's going to be pushed to another system. This is not for somebody else to consume. It's not for another business or Power BI or Looker to consume. This is stuff, for instance, that you're pulling in data, you're enriching it, and then you're pushing that data back out to another business system, whether it's Salesforce, whether it's your ERP system, your MES system, whatever the case may be, your HRIS system sometimes, whatever the case may be, right? And then finally we have our gold. Oh, you know what? I do have these are the great things, is that sometimes on the fly you realize that you do have a fifth layer. So our gold, which is our curated, aggregated, all those things that gold to be, for those of you that have studied medallion architecture. So subject area, sometimes these are subject area marks usually. Schema's a little bit different than maybe some of the other layers. We are looking usually for star schema, normalized data, sometimes data vault type data sets, depending on what the business needs are, and optimized for BI consumption, right? And then finally, we do have, I'm going to use the word that Ramona doesn't probably want. We have our kind of our BI presentation / semantic layer, right? I'm call it BI presentation layer.
I have nothing against that. It's just I have heard even earlier today I watched a webinar, and that was, semantic layer, this or that or the other, 7 different interpretations of it. So I am agnostic. That's the thing. It's just I'm relaying what I've witnessed for years, including a very intense conversation between high-level professionals who could not agree even what semantics is. Yeah, Shane is laughing because he was there as well. So he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
I need to introduce you into my BI semantic medallion data product layer. Yeah, because that's getting all the contentious words in one sentence. All right. So before we have a conversation about this, the interesting thing for me was Chris, as he was typing in the layers, was doing quite a descriptive story about what went in them. And when I was listening to him, I'm translating that into some things I understand. So he's like, oh, this one's a dimensional model. Yeah, this one's a PI with data masking. And what we've done down the left-hand side is, over time, I've taken those words and said they're important. And I've given a row for each of those things that either I use or somebody like Chris would to describe how a layer is the same or different. The things that he would use to describe what that layer is and it isn't. So is that layer using dimensional modeling or data vault or both? Yeah. And so that was a great example, and it wasn't scripted, of Chris kind of just telling what would happen from a normal data architect of how they describe their layers. And then you've got to sit there and go, what the hell did he just say? Right. If you're not recording it or LOMing it. So that's the point of the template, right? It's to take all that knowledge Christus gave us and codify it into a repeatable template that any of us can look at and understand. Yeah.
Or to your point, feed into an LLM and get the LLM to explain it to you.
Yeah.
In more plain language than you might be able to look at it and read it.
Yeah. All right. So Ramona, questions?
Well, everything was pretty clear to me. I do have a question about your history layer, Shane.
Yeah.
Because you had landing and history, and they are both in the bronze. So landing of data, I suppose. So that would be the raw ingestion. But what is history here? That's if anybody has that question.
So why don't we see how we go at the end of this? And if you can tell me the difference between the landing layer and the history layer and why we have them separate. Yeah. So as we describe it, let me ask you at the end of that, without giving you the answer, and go, why do we do it this way? Like, why have we separated it out as two layers in our language, and why are they different?